Well, Store Nation, I have just had a most amazing, I don't know why I'm holding the microphone in my hand, most amazing chat. And I know I say it all the time, but I genuinely, thoroughly enjoy all these conversations I have on this podcast. I feel very, very lucky and blessed to be able to just have a conversation for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes with these amazing people in the self-storage industry. And I hope you guys are enjoying them too. Today's podcast is Martin Wild. Martin is from Austria in Vienna. He's got an awesome bit of software. He's got one massive, gigantic facility, and he's got 2 satellite sites that are also in Vienna or close to Vienna, and the manless facilities, which is incredible, these satellite sites. So it was a fascinating conversation. I learned loads from it. I really enjoyed it. And I just feel as though that this going down the satellite site, my biggest takeaway after talking to Martin is that satellite sites, if they're not the way to go, they are certainly our way to go. There's so much opportunity out there right now in the UK, and we overlook it. We overlook it probably because of vanity metrics. We want to have the biggest, we want to have a big site. But sometimes, guess what? You're overlooking a fantastic opportunity in a small town, a small part of a city that only needs maybe 100 units. It doesn't need a 200 or 300 facility operations. And we overlook it because we aren't aware, we don't know. These satellite sites now will become more and more popular. And I am convinced that this, for me, is part of my strategy. Not my full strategy, but it has to be part of my strategy. Can you imagine if you can open up in a place and just have 50 units, fully automated, and all the calls go diverted to one of your sales executives, sales people. It's a no-brainer. Anyway, we dive into that. We talk about that. And I just feel as though many people are overlooking it for reasons that have got nothing to do with feasibility. They've got more to do with vanity metrics. And I'm one of those people who I love saying that we've got a 500 unit site. I love it. I absolutely love it. But then also you've got to look at the return on investment as well. And you can't just say that, do you know what, we're not going to open here because it can only support 30 units or 50 units. If it can support 30 and 50 units, then why not give it a go? Get a smaller site. It doesn't have to be this all big, all singing, all dancing facility. It can be a small, all singing, all dancing facility. It still works. The numbers still work, and the software that is available now and the technology makes it possible. So please don't overlook a site just because it's small, because if it makes money and it doesn't take much looking after, much running, then why not? Why not? Beverly, it takes none of my time whatsoever, but has a fantastic return on investment and a return on time as well. Return on time is probably the biggest thing for me, because I don't want to spend too much time doing something that isn't going to give me a good return. And the return that smaller sites can give you is very good on time and return on investment as well. Okay, anyway, that's not all we talked about. We talked about much, much more. I'm going on a rant here and I don't want to. You've come here to listen to Martin. So here is Martin. Martin, thank you so much for your time. I really, really enjoyed talking to you. And yeah, thanks a lot. And enjoy this episode, guys. Don't forget to tune into Friday's episode. We've got another, I can't say what it is because I haven't got my list in front of me, but we've got another great episode, I'm sure, on Friday as well. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Here is Martin. Martin Wild, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on the podcast, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So if you want to tell the listeners just a little bit about you and what you do, and we'll start there. And as I mentioned before, I'm super excited to getting into it with you and really learning more about what you do.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Martin Wild. I'm the co-founder of Kinnovis, and we have launched our company just actually last year. However, we have been developing on our product for quite a while already. In total, it's 2.5 years now. And yeah, so we started off developing our own software for our own facilities. So we are also running facilities ourselves, which also obviously use our software. And at some point we saw, hey, there is actually interest on the market in our product, and people were asking us if they could use the same software. And eventually, yeah, we turned out to become a software company also, or selling our solution on the market.
I'll get into the software in a minute then, because there's so much I wanna unravel with you. So first of all, how did you get into self-storage? How did you find this industry?
Yes, so actually our history starts in galvanizing, a totally different thing. So we are one of the largest galvanizing companies with 50, roughly 45 locations around the world. And we, on each location, we have some warehouses and smaller units that we've been renting out in the past 30 years. And then we saw there is a smaller there is a need for smaller units as well. So the smallest was 20 square meters back then, and there were always requests for smaller units even. And eventually it was quite clear that we needed storage from starting from 1 square meter already. And there we go with self-storage. And that's how it all started. So basically 3 years ago, the decision was made to go for even smaller units and eventually self-storage.
Yeah, and that's so 3 years ago, and that's storeroom self-storage as well, isn't it? Because I've been looking on your website. It's a massive facility, isn't it? And it was only 3 years ago.
Yeah, so we built the facility and we didn't really compare to other facilities back then. And afterwards, we found out actually that we are the largest facility in Austria with a lettable area of 6,300 square meters. And so since it was very big and with a total capacity of 1,200 units, we said we need an automated system to manage all this, right? And this is where the idea came from, to develop a software for this.
Yeah, and so in Austria, is it a relatively new industry, or is it well known, the self-storage industry? How does it stand in terms of the UK? Obviously, America, everybody knows about storage in America. The UK, not so much. Is it whereabouts is it standing in Austria at the minute?
Yeah, so in the UK, there is roughly 10 times more area per capita of lettable area, right? So it's actually a tiny market still. And so if you ask people on the streets what's self-storage, I guess I didn't try it, but I guess 1 out of 30 or so would say, yes, I know actually what it is. So yes, it's a very new market, and it needs a lot of explanation to the service. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And so when you first opened up, then did people find you through just by you being around, and then understood the knowledge more about self-storage, or did they find you on Google? How did that work?
Yes.
How did you educate people?
Yes. So what people look for is Lagerräume in German, right? Storage rooms. They look for Kellerabteil, cellar units they used to have in their apartments and so on. So keywords that are definitely not self-storage. So with our marketing, we also try to go as digital as possible, as we see the return is the best there. There we just saw, okay, the keywords, the really strong keywords, are not necessarily self-storage, but more the Austrian typical words for small places to throw your stuff in, right? And yeah, so through this, actually, we gain a lot of, or we gain the most customers. Not so much through out of home, actually, but that's maybe specific to our location.
Yeah, and something that you do is prices on your website, because I've got a mentor in America, and when I talk to Anne Ballard, she says, Dean, you've got to put your prices on the internet. Why don't you? And the reason I don't, because my customers aren't educated enough in terms of, no disrespect, in terms of self-storage, they don't understand it. And so when they're comparing prices to another facility compared to mine's obviously a lot more expensive, so I feel I need to educate them, give me a chance to tell you why I'm different and how it works and how we are better value. But you've said in Austria that it's not as common or well-known self-storage, but you've still displayed your prices on the internet.
Yes.
Why did you choose that decision then? What was the thinking behind that?
So first of all, I think personally that it's a good, if I put myself into a customer's shoes, let's say, and I go through the webpage and I only find request for quote form, it's already one reason to go to another provider where I directly have the prices displayed. But that's I can only talk for our region here in Vienna and metropolitan area of Vienna, let's say. Here it's very common to see prices instantly, and if you don't, you just go to the next one and look for it there. So we see our biggest competitors in the area, they all display the prices I guess for a good reason, and we have made good experience with it. So I actually don't see a problem with it. We are not cheapest, definitely. We're actually, premium self-storage, certainly. But like you said, Dean, explaining to the customer or convincing him to go with us, even though we are 2-3 euros more expensive, we are trying to do that with 3D tours, with pictures on the web page, with our salespeople that are always ready to be called, and this works quite well for us. So, but I don't want to say that this is the better approach in general. I'm sure this very much depends on the market.
Yeah, I mean, two things that stand out there is your website is fantastic. I've been on the virtual tour. I've literally clicked all around the building and wow, and Great. It looks so neat, so tidy. It is definitely premium. It looks fantastic. And I do believe you give me a little bit more confidence about displaying prices on the website. We've had internal conversations with my team, and most of them, I think actually all of them, are scared and worried because it's different. And we've got to, if COVID has taught me or everybody one thing, it's to challenge your assumptions. And we don't know something won't work unless we try it. And it is out of our comfort zone. So it is scary. But yeah, the fact that you guys have done it as well. And I know obviously I'm exactly the same as you, that if I can't get a price straight away, there's a little bit of software that I need to plug into onto our work systems, and the same book a call, schedule a call. No, just tell me the price. I don't want to schedule a call. And when you said that, put yourself in the customer's shoes, I'm thinking, oh yeah, do you know what? Maybe we should take the leap.
Yeah. So definitely, and what our approach is, we want to have the least work possible with our customers, and having a request for quote form, it equals already work, right? So you have to negotiate with the customer, you have to talk to him and so on. So we have quite a considerable amount of people that go on the website, book online, and that's it. And that wouldn't be possible with a request for quote form. So that's also one major reason why we're going for that.
Yeah, I love it. So when I was doing my research for this podcast, I found yourself on YouTube, and there was a little bit of I think about a 60-second YouTube clip of you mentioning virtual tours for your customers because of COVID. And I had to pause it straight away and just thought, oh, I've got to write this down. How does that work, and was it successful?
Yeah, so our 3D tour, we see that there are quite many clicks on it. So during COVID, there was definitely the need there to not to be much in contact with people, obviously. Yeah. So not to be in physical contact. So we had our staff sitting at home, not being in the office, and customers calling and asking whether they could have a visit on site. And we said, yeah, sure, come by, but we won't be on site. So they were like, how is that going to work? You just come by, and I open the door remote. And if you want, you can look through the storage already beforehand on the 3D tour and check it out. And sometimes they said, actually through the 3D tour, I saw everything I needed, and we can already go ahead and book it.
Right, so you was offering the 3D tour and also the customers physically coming down to your facility and coming in, and would you talk them through, or would you just allow them to go in and then we speak to them afterwards? So
it was a video call, simple video call. Everybody is used to video calls already, so we had no lead that had a problem with the video call, and we walked the customers through the building. We could open every door remotely, which is essential for this, right? And and guide the people through the site.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. When I heard it, I thought that was thinking outside the box and thinking something completely different. There's a need there for the customers to still come down, but the problem is that obviously with staff and with COVID, the restrictions, then sometimes it's not possible for you to be there. And so with technology and with thinking outside the box, you've really married the two up and come to a really good solution for the customers.
It was not really our plan actually, but the situation just led us to this. So yeah, sometimes bad situations can turn out to be good at some point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And something that's near and dear to my heart now is satellite sites. And obviously you've just opened two satellite sites you've opened?
Yes, 2 satellite sites. One has 45 units, the other one has 145.
Yeah, and how close are they to your main site?
So very much depends on the traffic in Vienna, but without traffic, it's around 30 minutes. But during rush hour, it can go beyond 1 hour easily. So yeah, so one is half hour, the other one's 35 minutes, roughly like that. One is in the north, one is in the east of the city.
Yeah. So was there a demand then? I'm guessing there must have been a demand then. There must have been a demand where you knew that you could fill it because of the location, etc.
Yes, so we took a look at where the other competitors are, right? And we also was very important for us, but it's important for anyone who's doing self-storage to be on a main road, to be somewhere where there is a lot of traffic, where they can see your ads on the building, and simply be very easily accessible. And those locations we are located at, they were both on main roads, very central in Vienna. So we saw a big potential for those locations. However, there are quite many competitors around it. But yeah, let's see how it's going to turn out. We try to stick out, to stand out with technology, and yeah, let's see how they perform. We just opened them 5 days ago. We have already a couple of customers, but it's way too early to say if it's going to be successful. But I'm very, very positive. I'm pretty sure.
Do you know what? I absolutely love this, because I believe that most people listening to this now has the opportunity, because normally when we open and we look at our costings and we look at the feasibility for self-storage, we're adding in costs of staff, etc. Where when you've got these smaller satellite sites, you don't have to. I just interviewed someone called James Bonney. He's done something very similar in his area, and we're doing exactly the same. There's only going to be 200 units, but it's a location of Hull that we don't do very well in. And so if we can open that location, so it's next to a Starbucks on a busy road, with the software now, with the technology out there, it just opens it up to so many more opportunities. The fact that you can open up and you don't have to have a massive site, you don't have to have 300, 400, 500 plus units. You can open up like yourself with 45, and it is still feasible and it is still worthwhile.
Yes, that's basically also our main focus, to keep operational fixed costs, let's say, as low as possible, and to also be able to serve smaller locations as well, to serve all kinds of location sizes. But Dean, I'm happy to if anyone wants to get in contact with me talking about those small storages, always happy to talk about it. And it's also for us a quite new thing, right? We have one location that's massive and then another one really, really small. So it's also for us a test on how it's going to be. But as I said, we already have our first customers in it after a couple of days, so it looks quite good. But yeah, in a month or two, I will have a lot more to tell.
Yeah, you've literally gone from the complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes, completely.
One massive facility, it's huge, and then a 45, room is
on purpose.
Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, exactly. But it's really good though, because when you used to look at locations and towns or small towns in England, you think, well, do you know what? It is a good location. It's underserviced, but it's not. We can't really open one there. This just opens a door to so many opportunities, and this is why I'm so excited about smaller satellite manless facilities. I just think it opens it up now. The tech is around, and I just think, again, it's just challenging our internal beliefs, how we've always done things. What are your future plans then, Martin, just in terms of self-storage, and then we'll get onto your
Sure.
software?
So actually, with our self-storage, we want to stay in our area where we are right now. We don't really have big plans to go international or something. We rather want to stay in our area here. But certainly in Vienna there is a lot to do. There is still a very fast-growing market, and we want to see how the two new locations are going to be, and then we will see how we proceed. But there is no real plan of expanding to many multiple locations in the near future. So our main focus is actually on the software.
Yep. Can I ask you why you opened two and not just one, and thought, you know what, I'll dip my toes into this to these smaller sites.
It just happened.
I'll do two.
No, it just happened actually. So there were many options on the market where we were looking into, and those two simply turned out to be really good in terms of our rent we pay, in terms of location, and so on. All those factors that were important to us, and we said, why not doing both if both are really good? So
yes, yeah.
they're not close to each other, so it's not that one is going to take customers from the other side, from the other facility, so that's not going to be the problem. So we saw no real problem in doing that, and it was simply very interesting. It's also a very interesting phase for us to see how really small locations with only 45 units is going to perform, and how the 145 is going to perform. So we were also very, very interested in how that's going to turn out, and so we went for both.
Yeah, exciting times, and we're doing something similar as well. We've got our second manless facility, which again is next door to a Starbucks. But the problem is, well, not the problem, but I suppose a good thing is that we're just going down the route now of putting in the plans, etc., and building will hopefully start working in the next 6 months. And so by the time this one opens, it's probably going to be a year after my first one. So it gives us a little bit of time to understand the processes and understand it a lot better. But yeah, one of my mentors said to me, Dean, why are you doing both? And I said, because they're both good opportunities. They're both fantastic opportunities, and I can't pick between which one's best. I love them both, and I really want to progress. Just really quickly on your key performing indicators. What do you look for to determine how well your site's doing? Is it all about the revenue, or do you look at conversions, the website visits? What do you focus on, Martin?
Yeah, so one factor is certainly the occupancy rate. However, this is very not a good key performance indicator, as it obviously very much depends on the size of the building. Yes. But another KPI is certainly the square meter, so the revenue we make on square meter.
Yep. And
the lifetime value of a customer. So we try to keep them as long as possible, for sure. And those three factors are certainly one of the most important we are looking at. And what's also, I think, one very important factor is growth in general. So how fast you can fill up your storage, and what's your growth each month, and to then see months that went well, compare it to how the marketing was performing, and what could have been done better in that month, and so on. So retrospective and planning for the next month is an essential part of our business.
Yep. Have you got any ways that you keep your customers longer? I know you obviously mentioned lifetime value, and you try to keep our customers longer. We're struggling to try. When somebody says they're going to leave, obviously there's a need, there's an intent for self-storage. We offer them, so many weeks free. We've tried nearly everything we possibly can do. Have you found anything that keeps a customer longer?
Yes. So nothing really specific that not anyone else does, right? So we are trying to have the best service possible, to be always there for our customers. And if there are problems, we try to see it as a potential to also build a relationship with the customer by being there for the customer in case there is something that the customer wants to talk with us. We are there. So it shouldn't. We don't want to appear as the fully digital self-storage where yes, everything's digital, but no one can talk to anyone. That's not the case. So we always emphasize very much that we are there for you. There are actual humans behind the facade, let's say, that actually help you, and you can rely on us over the whole time you're storing with us. But there is no specific
secret sauce,
secret or something that I could tell you that so we keep the customers longer than others. But yeah.
Yep. So in terms of your software, then, what is it? Can you tell us a little bit about it, the customers who don't have any idea what you guys do?
Yes. So our goal 3 years ago was to have a system where users can book a unit online, get direct access, get automatically the invoice sent, where also the payment is taken from their account automatically, where users can also switch their accounts, switch their units in their My Profile section on the web page, and which is a feature that's coming soon. And currently we're doing the background, but more to that maybe on a personal call. And then also the canceling unit, right? That's an essential part. So that the customer can do as much as possible by himself, and for our staff to have as little work as possible. So this is basically was the whole idea of the complete concept, and therefore we needed also electronic locks, right? So there cannot be any padlocks on the doors that are maybe put on the wrong door by other customers, or someone puts empty things or their trash into a unit that's not his or hers. So all those things simply led us to the decision to put electronic locks in there. So we really have the fully complete digitized solution.
Yeah, and so that would be then connected to something like Sensorberg or no-key technology.
Correct. So currently we are integrated with Sensorberg in self-storage. So this we have found a really good partner with them, and we've done quite a considerable number of projects so far. It's I think it's also maybe in the future at some point people just expect so that they can do everything with the smartphone, and we want to be one of the first being able to provide it. So that was also a thought behind it.
Yeah, people listening as well will be probably thinking, well, my facility is not a manless facility, so I don't need any technology, I don't need any software. But I couldn't disagree more, because I believe we're coming to an era where we've got to meet the customer where they want to be met. And if the customers don't want to come in and sign paperwork with you direct, there needs to be an option out there, or we need to give the customer an option out there to try and help them on whichever direction they want to go. If they want to come into the facility in a normal facility like my bigger facility, yep, by all means there's people there. But I also want to give them the option of going down the route of signing the form and being able to come to the facility without actually having to speak to anybody, if that's what they want. Is that what you guys offer other facilities as well then?
Sure, definitely. So it's just another sales channel to offer it online, to book directly, get direct access and so on. But if someone comes on site, we can also go ahead with the classical way of getting the customer onboarded with a booking made by the operator or made by the staff on the management platform, and which is eventually the same what customers do themselves on the checkout, but the staff doing it in the back office basically for them.
Yeah, the way I look at it now is I kind of look at this now where everybody's thinking, oh, self-storage, automation. I don't know if I like it, and there's a lot of going back and forth in the UK. Is automation ready? Are we ready for it? Will customers like it? And the way that because I actually did a debate in the Fidessa conference against Travis Morrow on stage about he was talking about the importance of automation. And I was like, nah, I'm not so sure. I think we should offer both. But now I'm so far the other way now because of obviously the COVID has accelerated things. But just also listening to the customers and watching customers' behavior. And if you look at how we used to book holidays, I remember going in with my parents to a holiday shop and being there and looking through these brochures. We sat for a couple of hours, 3 hours maybe, going through it. But now we wouldn't dream of doing that because it's such a waste of time. And there's progression. There's got to be progression in every industry. And I truly believe that in 10 years and 5 years' time, it will be more about automation for self-storage. Most people will be going through the automated route rather than the traditional way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I see it with myself, right? I booked a flight just 2 weeks ago again, and I just go online, book it, and that's it. I don't want to go somewhere to be able to book the flight, and maybe then I don't know, this person I'm talking to is not really what I'm looking for, let's say, and there are many questions around it. So actually, I want everything to be answered in a couple of steps, let's say, that I find online, book it, and that's it. I don't want to be bothered with more.
Yeah, I agree.
My personal opinion.
So, yeah, no, I 100% agree. So do you have any stats on how many people actually go through the whole process and book a room without actually talking to you guys? Do you know what? Because I was talking to someone in America, and only 30% of people managed to book a room without actually talking to anybody on the other end, whether it be over the telephone or an email, etc. So what are you seeing at your end?
Yes, so we are at 35% of customers that book directly without having ever talked to us before. But then there is also, there is actually around 90% of customers that use the checkout after they have called once. So basically just going through the webpage and maybe just making sure, just calling them quickly and say, hey, did I understand this and this and this correctly? Okay, yes, let's book it. So not many are coming on site and want to see it, but there is definitely a considerable number of customers that come here on site and want to see it in live. Yeah. But maybe also with COVID, but we don't really have a comparison with the time before, as we opened right at the start of COVID. But I think that customers, that there are many that simply are fine with what they find online, and they just go ahead.
Yeah, and that 35%, I would expect to keep rising and rising over the years. And this is,
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's always varying between 30 and 40%, right? When you look at it on a monthly basis. But yeah, I hope that in the future it's getting higher and higher, this number, as those are the cheapest customers for us, right? So that's what we are looking for.
Yeah, and so your software then, are you able to offer it in the UK? I've seen on your website that you've got a couple of customers in the UK at the minute. Is that correct? Have I read that correctly?
Yes, so we have a customer in London using our system. They have the system of request for quote form online, as that's very common in the UK, I learned. And seems to be the better solution there. And then they book with the staff on site. They get direct access, open the storage unit with the smartphone, share access with the smartphone, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, and where did the idea come from? Did you just see a need for it and think, you know what, this is something that people will need, or did it come from another angle?
The idea to have the software, back 3 years ago, we didn't really find any solution on the market that was there. There was simply no really a solution with the complete process, not that we were aware of, and this was the sign to go ahead with doing our own self-storage software and our own process eventually.
Yeah, and if people wanted to find out more about the software, how much it is, etc., where would they go? Is there a website I can put links to?
Yes, so just go on kinnovis.com. There you find all the information, how we're pricing. There we have a request for quote form. So you request appointment with me, myself, and we talk through the whole solution, because it's our software comprises of various products, and we first have to see what is the products that you really what really serves all your needs, and then we can calculate the price very easily.
I can see why you would have a request, a quote form there, because it's so different. There's so many different angles, and it's new as well. And so, yeah, I can see that.
It's not only renting one storage room, but much more. So
yeah,
we went down that route. Yeah.
And in terms of your personal time then, Martin, is that where most of your personal time is spent on the software? Because the self-storage kind of runs itself. You've got the SOPs, a system, the standard operating procedures for the self-storage that runs itself. And then most of your time is the marketing, the vision of the software and speaking to potential customers.
Yes, so actually my time is mostly spent, I think 95% right now on the software. Where a lot of it goes into development, new features, evaluating the business value of new features, and then taking a look at partners, how to integrate with them, and so on. And and also talks with our current software customers on how to proceed, how to expand how to expand together. And also obviously talking to new leads. So yeah, 95% of my time goes into Kinnovis, the software company, and 5% only to the self-storage. But we have on the self-storage, I have colleagues that are only on the self-storage, working, for example, marketing is obviously a big part, right? And then also, and a colleague of mine has been responsible for the 2 new locations. So there is enough to do around the daily business of self-storage that 3 of my colleagues are actually only on storeroom.
Yeah, around about 90% of my time is spent on other things, and 10% of my time is focused on actually running the business. But if I'm honest, the people who are running the business actually in the self-storage are much better than I am. They can speak to a customer better, they can help a customer, they know the software better. They are all around better than me at running the self-storage. So yeah, most of my time is spent elsewhere. Martin, I really, really appreciate your time, buddy. I've really, really enjoyed myself. If a self-storage operator or owner asks you one bit of advice, what would it be?
Don't be afraid of technology. Try to be one of the first ones, as you can really stick out from the market. We have really good customer reviews and customers who say, hey, I chose you because you seem to be very professional because of technology. So don't be afraid of that. Try it, and you will see it turns out to be very positive.
Excellent. Well, Martin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on, buddy. Massively appreciate it.
Thank you, Dean, and it was really a great pleasure.